Welcome to Sisters in Arms. I'm Carrie Ann Alclair.
And I'm Renee Gagne. Together we serve as a Second Amendment resource for our communities.
Today we have a special guest, Derek Leblanc. He's the president of Kids S.A.F.E Foundation. So we're going to roll it now for you. Welcome, Derek. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a privilege, and we're excited to hear about your organization. So why don't we jump into it, and why don't you tell us a little bit about your organization, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so my name is Derek Leblanc. I'm president of the Kids S.A.F.E Foundation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're based in Oregon. And so what we do is firearm safety and accident prevention for kids. And so since our founding back in 2016, we've reached over 28,000 kids now in 5 states and taught them life-saving skills on what to do if they ever come across an unsecured firearm.
That's awesome.
Great. That's great.
Now, you were telling me a little bit of how you kind of started this program, and what year was the year that you started it?
So I had the epiphany that I was a new instructor back in 2014, and I had the epiphany that I was exposing kids to a potential accident inside the home. And so from that point is when I started kind of developing a program. 2016 is when it was official and became a nonprofit, and so the rest is history now.
That's great. And do you have partners?
Yes, we have some great partners, so, some of our partners, our Aero Precision is one of our title sponsors. And so they really help us, get the funding that we need to continue to do what we do. We have Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop, Vaultec. These are all great partners and sponsors of ours. And they're all together helping promote responsible gun ownership and making sure education is at the forefront for those kids, but also the parents do what they need to do to kind of help us out. And that means, securing that firearm when it's not on their person.
So I noticed that you have a lot of different classes that are available. Like I looked online, it looks like you have 7 different classes that you offer. Can you kind of explain because Massachusetts and Rhode Island probably, or I don't know how many people know about the Kids S.A.F.E Foundation, but I think everybody should. So
our bread and butter is our Kids Firearm Safety 1 class. And that's a 1-hour class. That one's typically held, wherever we can reach kids. So it could be churches, it could be a Cabela's, it could be a school. And so that one's accident prevention. The unique part about that one is I actually have real firearms in that class, and I demo them. I show the parents the chambers. So we check the chambers, make sure everything's clear. And then I get to talk about the guns, the functions, how to load, unload it, how to make it safe. And that way I get to teach those kids good, relevant information that they're not going to get anywhere else. And another really unique class that we do is a Kids Firearm Safety Education class. So it's the same class. It just does not have any firearms in it. And this one's designed for the public schools. And so I wrote a Senate bill in 2019, and I had a House bill this year in the Oregon legislature that would have authorized our program for all first graders in the state of Oregon, the public schools. And it would have saved lives from day one. And so we didn't make the cut, but we're going to continue, and we're going to do it again next year. And it's all about, giving our kids this exposure to firearms in a safe manner, and to show the public that guns are not scary if used properly. And that's kind of what we advocate is there's no such thing as a bad gun, only a bad owner. Right. And so that's where we're talking to the parents, like, we got to do better. We got to make sure those guns are properly stored when they're not on us. We got to educate those kids. A good analogy is like the hot burner. We tell our kids, don't touch that hot burner. What's the first thing that they do? And so that's why education is so important. And so from then we do a Kids Firearm Safety 2 class, and this one's on the range, and this one's with rimfire rifles. So we get to reinforce all the skills that we learned in the first class with actual rimfire rifles. And so there they get good skills, and they learn about safety, discipline, and respect for that firearm. And we do have some new teen level classes that are rolling out. So right now we have the teen rifle class that's rolling out. And so that's designed for our teens. And we use a nicer rifle. It's a CZ457. And so some of these kids are shooting out to 100 yards now with the rimfire rifle. It's a lot of fun. And so, we're working on a teen safety class that's going to come out. That one's almost ready to be beta tested. And so there we're talking about, issues that teens face, like online safety, anti-bullying, all sorts of different things, and so also teen suicide prevention, which is a real thing right now that we need to be focusing on. And so as an organization, that's what we're trying to do is to bring this information to the families to make sure that their kids are safe. And we just need people to help us.
I think,
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
You're familiar, Derek, with the DC project, right?
Oh,
I am, yes,
I
yes,
figured you were, because when
yes.
we go, nationally, we're talking to legislators, and Kids S.A.F.E Foundation is one of those programs
Absolutely.
that we consider an absolute effective solution to keeping our community safe, because at the end of the day, that's what we all want. No matter what side of the aisle you're on with firearms, we all want to be safe.
Absolutely, and I think the world of those ladies, and I've been partnered with them since 2019, and Di Muller is a great lady, and there's so many great women in this organization, and so the thing is we have common ground here. Like at the end of the day, we want to save lives. The difference is only some of us know how to do it, and so that's where we bring our experience, because I literally have over 3,000 hours now in front of these kids, working on our project, our program, teaching them safety, and I know what works, I know what doesn't work, and so the problem is we're just outfunded, and it comes down to we don't have the funding that other organizations do, but we have a really important message, and that's why we're glad to be here to be able to speak with you guys to get that message out.
Right, right.
Oh,
Go ahead. There's so many questions, so little time. How young is your youngest kiddo that you've taught?
So I've had 3-year-olds in the class. I've had 4-year-olds. I mean, when we look at the data, probably 4 to 6 is probably going to be the most vulnerable, maybe 8, 4 to 8, most vulnerable age for these kids. And so I never turn a kid away. And because if that information doesn't resonate with the kid because the kid's too young, there's still going to be important information for those parents. And so, it's a really, this class is designed for the family, because there's information for the kids, but there's also going to be information for the parents. And so there's stuff that they might not have thought of that we put a lot of research and effort, and our partners from around the country have helped with this. And so that's what really is unique about what we do is this program's for every kid. And we have an adaptive program that we're working on right now, and so we actually have a blind kid that joins us on the range, and so he shoots with all the other kids. And it's everybody talks about inclusion, right? But there's very few that know how to truly be inclusive, right? And inclusion means every kid has this equal opportunity, and so it's our job as an organization to make sure every kid gets that opportunity. And so that means if we have to adapt something to make it a rifle, to make it easier for him to use it safely so he can have that same experience as every other kid, then that's our job, and that's what we'll do.
Awesome. So not only do you do kind of like, I don't want to say Eddie the Eagle, but you kind of adapt that concept where, see a firearm, don't touch, run away, tell an adult, and then you go into it even more. And
Well, absolutely.
creating
So
safety communities, which is fabulous.
yeah, and that was the thing in the beginning of this. Like, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. Like, there's stuff that's already been in society that's tried and true, and so that's why we incorporated that component. But we're light years ahead of Eddie Eagle, and it's not a shot at the NRA. It's just we're a small, more nimble organization that if something comes up in society, like, we can make a change like that. If there's something that if we need to take a 90-degree or do whatever to develop a new part of the program, we can do that because we're a small organization. It's easier for us to do that. And so what we're doing now, we're with the online safety and the anti-bullying that's part of our program. This is stuff that's ever evolving, but it's we learned through the pandemic is how online technology has really made it easier for predators to attack get to our kids, right? So we have to teach our kids what's appropriate online behavior, what's not appropriate. We also have to teach our kids about how social media is actually bad for their mental health, and that's another thing that parents should be mindful of, is the way social media is really harmful for young minds. And video games, same thing. There's studies out there that have proved that violent video games makes desensitizes our kids to violence, but also can make them more aggressive. And so these are things that really in society we should be looking at, as opposed to blaming the firearm all the time. there's 5 or 6 steps that led up to this tragedy. Why aren't we talking about step 1 as opposed to step 5? So that's my thing.
No, I think that's fabulous. I noticed that you were talking about a teen class. Was that the teen project? Because I saw online you have a teen project, Hawaii project.
Yeah.
So is that the
Yeah.
kind of-
So we've been to Hawaii a couple times. We're trying to start it. It's very, very challenging in Hawaii to start a program there, just because of their gun laws and their view on firearms. And very, very blessed to have been able to go there a couple times and kind of build a network and hopefully get this thing off the ground. And our teen project is designed for teens, and so that's where we're talking about civics. We're talking about situational awareness. We're talking about online safety, anti-bullying type stuff, and so that's the goal with the teen program is to understand that with these rights come great responsibilities, and these responsibilities are only protected if we understand the civics aspect, right? How do you get involved at 18? You can show up and vote. You can write your legislator.
You're giving me
So there's all these things.
Seriously. Yeah, well, it's I find that because I was on the school council, and I've mentioned before about trying to get Eddie the Eagle program to the school. As soon as I said Eddie the Eagle and they start researching it, they see the NRA and they're like,
Yes.
and you're like,
Yes.
gotta be a way.
So you
And we can
basically,
get this
yeah,
in.
you do. You have to make up
And-
your own curriculum and name it
and
something
he
that
has
doesn't
it.
have the word gun in it or
Yeah,
something, because as soon as they hear that, they scrap it.
Right.
Derek, before I forget, is there a place that if someone wanted to send donations, what would be the best way to do so to your program?
Absolutely. We need support, and so thank you for that question. So there's obviously our mailing addresses on our website. There's also a way for them to donate online. You can check out our website there. You can see our calendar. You can see our social media through there. There's contacts there, and there's a great blog. So there's lots of information for families. And I know different parts of the country, like in Massachusetts, where you guys are from, like this is Greek. There's a lot of because they're afraid, and I get the fear, and our organization wants to be a trusted resource for those families, and they have to understand is all we need is an hour of their time and an open mind. That's all we need, and with that, we can break down these walls and get ourselves into a situation where we can bring the country together as opposed to continue to poke at each other and divide, because we don't need any more division. We need to start healing, and we do that through proper education and showing the public that there's organizations out there that do care and they're trying to do the right thing, and they just need help.
Right.
So the website is KidsSAFEFoundation.org.
.org. Yes.
Awesome.
So Derek, the thing that I love about your program is it's not just for gun owners and their children. It's for everyone, because you
Absolutely.
could be, and I use my sister as an example all the time because she'll never watch my show, but she doesn't like guns. She'll never have a gun. And so she doesn't even say the word gun around her children. She says GUN because they're 4 and 6. But the 6-year-old now knows what GUN is. So I said, someday little Timmy is going to, go to a friend's house and their parents may have a gun. He may somehow get his hands on it. Who knows? Even if it's a BB gun, even if it's a, Red Ryder BB gun, all guns should have the same safety principles.
You should have the
shown to
same
these
respect.
kids.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And so like I would speak directly to her, and I my message would be, just because you don't have a firearm in your home or you're afraid of guns, don't think for a second that your kids can't be exposed somewhere. And a prime example would be show and tell at a friend's house. A friend knows where the gun's kept. He knows how to get into it, and he wants to show your kid because your kid doesn't have any experience, and that's how your child gets hurt or killed. Happens all the time. And so this is where I'm trying to plead with those people that are afraid of guns, is just give us an hour of your time. It's just like paying our car insurance. We pay our car insurance every month because we're hoping we don't have to have a claim. When it comes to a firearm, we want to pay this insurance every month. We want to make sure that our kid is never hurt with that gun.
Right, and I feel like we do it with so many other things. We do that with fire safety. We know, I'm not a firefighter, but I know how to use a fire extinguisher,
They do that in the
Yeah.
school.
you
Why
know,
can't
and
they do this?
so I don't have time to wait for the fire truck to come. I gotta be my own first responder type of thing.
Absolutely.
And so, I think it's incredible. I think it's
And,
absolutely incredible what you're doing.
and, and that's what we do is I designed this program similar to water safety. Is we teach every kid in this country how to swim because we don't want them to drown, right? And it's the same principle here. And so, that's why we're working, once we get the funding is working on translating our stuff into Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, American Sign Language, because there's literally zero educational opportunities for those kids, and those kids need our help. And that's what we're going to try to do is help them.
That's so true. That's so true.
And I saw on your website that you have a lot of amazing videos too, so people can go onto your website, check out the videos and understand and see everything firsthand. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the biggest challenge that we have right now is just the big tech. Is the big tech censors us and doesn't let the message get out because it doesn't fit the narrative, and so that's our challenge. And so you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Twitter and our Facebook channel, and it's all about putting good, positive information out there for the public to consume. And so I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be here to talk to you guys and hopefully, have those light bulbs go on with parents in your area so they can see what we're doing and hopefully get to Massachusetts.
And we were talking earlier, real quickly off the camera, but I think this is important to definitely mention is that to get into other states, you need to get other instructors to be familiarized with your content. And
Yeah.
I was gonna say, as she's talking, I'm smiling. I'm like, we're doing something, aren't we?
Well, we got to work that way. Like
Yep.
the whole point is just building the network. Once we have the network, then we talk about the blueprint. This is how we do it. This is how we roll this thing out. Obviously we have community events that we can get involved in, table events, and talk about safety and raise awareness for what we're trying to do in that area, and just showcase responsible gun owners and show the public that guns are nothing to be afraid of if they're used properly. And 99.9% of gun owners are using their guns properly. And it's just the unfortunate thing is that it's that small percentage that makes all of us look bad.
Right. And I think of the public itself, they're fearful of the unknown. So if
Absolutely.
they don't understand, it's no different than someone not knowing how to drive, right? They get in a car, they're like, oh, I'm scared, I can't drive. I don't know how to drive. Well, we'll teach you, and then you're not going to be scared anymore.
Right.
So
I can almost tell what kind of parent a child has by the way the child talks about a gun. Like I can, because the children are learning from the adults around them.
Yeah.
So it totally depends on your upbringing, right? I mean, that's like with everything, but it's so apparent with firearms.
I was never brought up with firearms, but it's funny how things shifted.
Now, oddly for me, I grew up in a hunting family where all the guys had, the rifles and the shotguns on the rack and the cab of the truck. Everything was exposed. Nothing was locked up. We never touched a gun. We wouldn't even think about it. We just wouldn't think. No way. We wouldn't even. It was a tool. There was nothing about it that was like, oh, what's that do? We knew what it did. It caught dinner for us. It provided a meal.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is our guns are not toys, they're tools. And that's another thing. I'm gonna probably I don't care for Nerf guns. I don't care. They talk about every year we have a fast Nerf gun with a faster cyclic rate, longer effective range, and we're militarizing young children and we're getting them to point guns at one another. They're pointing muzzles at one another, and then we wonder why tragedies happen. It's because we are literally training them at 3 years old to point guns at one another, and there's no accountability for Nerf. Which I'm going to probably get some heat on this, but like we have to do better. If you expect the gun industry to have all these standards, right? You should have some kind of standard for Nerf where they're not marketing the way they are to children.
I was one of those moms where I didn't let my kids play with Nerf guns.
Oh, you were my
squirt guns,
sister. You were my
For,
sister.
till they understood
Right.
at a certain age, this is a toy.
Right.
But
Well,
even then, I'm like,
so my caveat there is you can teach the 4 basic rules with those Nerf guns, and you can actually go to our website on the training aspect, and you can print out a target free of charge that you can put up, and you could teach the 4 basic safety rules to your kid with a Nerf gun, and they can shoot a target with a Nerf gun. I'm all in favor of that. But
Yeah.
it's when we have young kids that are 4 and 5 years old that thinks it's okay to shoot the cat or the dog or mom or dad,
Right.
that's where we have to do better as parents.
Right.
We have to look at, we have to set an example for our children. And if we're allowing that type of behavior, what else is going to be acceptable? So we got to parent better.
Derek, last week, literally not even a week ago, maybe 5 days ago, I left a long shift at work. I work in the operating room, tired, driving home, and on the sidewalk was a boy. I drove through this area, lots of houses, lots of traffic, lots of people walking around. And this boy probably looked like maybe he was 5, and he pointed a gun at my car. And I just ducked like instantly, like it was my reaction, and my heart rate went up. And I thought, I hope that's a fake gun. I hope it is. I mean, I'm assuming that's a fake gun, right? And
yeah.
and I was on Bluetooth talking on the phone, and I was talking to my sister.
Oh boy.
And I said, oh my God, you're not gonna believe what just happened. And I could see in my rearview mirror that he did it to the car behind me too. And I thought,
Oh,
it can't be real. But do I turn around? Like, this kid could get shot.
Call
This
cops. Yeah.
kid could get shot.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
And
too.
so, right, so
And-
my house is 5 minutes down the road. So as I'm driving, I'm like, do I call the police? Do I tell them, you gotta go, this kid's gonna get hurt? So I turned around and the kid wasn't there anymore. So I figured it was a moot point. But that kid really put himself in danger, because he could have been shot back at by somebody, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't see an orange tip on the gun if it wasn't, but I don't think they all have orange tips anymore. Those plastic fake Nerf type guns. So
And those orange tips do come off, and that's unfortunately that's a learned behavior. This is not the first time that this kid's done this. It's never been corrected, and that's a teachable moment. That's something where you can say, coach and counsel the kids, say, hey, this is not what we do, and so that hurts me. I hate hearing stuff like that, because this kid doesn't know any better, and it's not the kid's fault. It comes down to the parents haven't educated him on because he doesn't. This is his universe, and one thing we have to realize is from 2 to 7, our kids engage what's called magical thinking, right? So magical thinking is where they don't have enough life experience. They don't have the maturity that they need to make informed decisions, and they're getting their information from their environments. So it could be YouTube, kids YouTube. It could be social media. It could be video games. And so that's what's really kind of shaped this young boy's, initial thoughts when it comes to firearms. And so that's something that we have to change, and we have to do better. And you brought up the NRA earlier. It's like, that's the problem, is the stigma that comes associated with that organization. It's a historic organization, but unfortunately there's people that don't like it because of what it stands for. And that's why we're trying to separate ourselves from that, is we're here for the families, we want to be a trusted resource, and so use this as a resource.
Right. I also noticed that you have an awesome news section on your website. And
We do.
Yeah. Bearing Arms, I believe, is one of the.
Yeah, Bearing Arms. Yeah, John Petrolino. Yeah, he's a good friend of ours, and he's done some really good coverage of ours. And we've got some other people that follow us, other news organizations, and it's all about getting this information out to the public, to let them know that there's people out there that care about their kids, that are trying to do the right thing. They just need an hour of your time, or they just need you to tune in, or they just need you to help support the mission, right? So
now, since 2014, 2016, is there one particular story that stands out the most for you?
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
So there's two moments that I speak of directly in our classes every time. And one of them is when we're talking about anti-bullying, right? So there was an anti-bully situation where we talk about the 3 steps. And so about a month went by. I taught a class to 41 Cub Scouts that night. About a month went by. I got a message from email from one of the moms saying that her son was bullied at school, and that bully threatened to bring a gun to school to quote unquote handle him. And luckily he remembered those 3 steps, got her involved, and so she called law enforcement. They stopped the school bus on the way to school, found a gun in a backpack, and that's literally 8 minutes from my home. Okay. And so it's a we're all gasping. It's a really important lesson that our kids can be first responders. And what I mean by that is we want to raise strong kids that if they hear somebody on the playground, in the schoolyard, in the hallway, on the bus, if they hear a kid's threatening themselves or someone else, some kind of threat of violence, they have to let somebody know. And we have to know.
Say something.
Absolutely. And so that's what we're trying to advocate for kids to be that strong leader and to get help to help keep other people safe.
Well, how many times would we have prevented a mass shooting if an adult said something that they saw? 9 times out of 10, these school shooters, there were red flags all along and nobody said anything. And so we're expecting kids to see something, say something, but the adults aren't say something. So we really, as parents, as adults, as it takes a village to raise these kids.
Absolutely.
And we really should be setting an example. Even if it's not your child, you can still set a good example for these children, because they're going to be raised the way they're only going to know what we show them. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think the important distinction here is, some would call for red flags, right? So there's always going to be a sign, but I feel that we have to obviously understand due process rights. There's a way we have to do things, because of the Constitution. And so what we have to do is figure out every tragedy that's happened, there's always been a sign or something that's led up to that situation. So we have to get better at identifying, those situations, getting the proper channels in place to help protect people, and making sure that we're following through and not letting these things go through the cracks. I hear a lot, especially being from Oregon, where they come in and their teachers are saying that, guns kill people and it's like a scary thing. It's like, and I try to be very, very careful with what I say, but like, if we look at the numbers, right, there's 48 million school age kids in this country, right? The likelihood of our kids being hurt or killed in a school shooting, I mean, they have a higher probability of being struck by lightning. Okay. It's like a 1 in 3 million chance to be struck by lightning. The probability is higher for that than it is, so I think it's really, really important for us as, responsible citizens, as we push back on that narrative to say that, obviously it is an issue. We want to identify this issue, but it's not as bad as what they're trying to make it out to be. And obviously we don't want to lose a single kid, but we also have to be very, very careful with the messaging.
Right. I think you were going to say another story and we interrupted.
Oh, so another story. So I talk about the 4 basic safety rules. Okay. This is a free demo for you guys. The 4 basic rules. So number 1 is I treat every gun like it's loaded, right? Every gun is always loaded. And number 2, I point that muzzle in a safe direction, which is either up or down, never at someone else. Number 3, fingers straight and off the trigger, your sights are on the target. Number 4, make sure my target, my backstop, and 1 is beyond. Okay, so we talk about those rules every class. In this situation, with this story, we had a young boy. He was 16 years old. He was 1 degree of separation from our program. So this is one of my friend's godsons, and this was just over 6 years ago. And I got a message on a Friday night from a family, or from him. He's one of my friends, and basically, Dad was handling the gun, didn't follow those 4 basic rules. That gun went off, striking our friend, and he died instantly. And so this is a way for me to bring the reality of us handling guns, but also talk about why we have these rules in place and what these rules stand for, and why they should be followed at all times. And it's a very somber, memory, and a story of a guy that he was 16. And this is why we do what we do, is to make sure that never ever happens again. But I know it will. But I'm going to get up every day and make sure that I work my hardest to try to prevent that in the future.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
We got about maybe another couple minutes, so is there something that you want to express? Because this is gonna go on our YouTube channel as well, so everybody's gonna be able to see this besides just Massachusetts and Rhode Island, so.
So my biggest thing is we have to come together, right? So you can find us on our social medias. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us Instagram, Twitter, under KidsSAFEFoundation.org. And so we're talking about bringing the country together because like we need people that are afraid of guns to listen. And I'm not saying that like in a forceful manner. I'm just saying we need to open our minds. We have to understand that there's over 450 million estimated guns in this country. There's 110 million law-abiding citizens in this country that own firearms. We're your friends, we're your family members, we're your neighbors, we're your coworkers, and we're all here. We all want to save lives. We just need people to be able to put down those walls and listen and just see it from not necessarily a pro-gun side, see it from a pro-safety side. And so it's a pro-safety message, not a pro-gun message. This is, this education should be for every child.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Well, we're going to DC in October with the DC project for our annual trip. And, we always advocate for Kids Safe and faster saves lives.
Yes. Yes.
So we love it. And it's hard for legislators to, not be happy about this program because there's nothing but positivity to it, especially when you go at it from the perspective that this isn't right. We all want safer communities. This is not about a gun. This is about keeping kids safe from any tool that gets put in front of them. Right.
Yeah. It's about empowering our youth to make good, safe decisions. I mean, that's what we're doing.
Right.
You look at, some of our data is, we've reached over 28,000 kids now with zero accidents.
Right.
Not a single kid has been hurt through our program. So that's a pretty spectacular number where, not many other organizations can say that. And, especially, there's one, no, I'm not going to go there.
Oh, come on. We got another minute.
No, we got another. No, I'm going to end on a good note.
Yeah.
And,
well, you did because we ran out of time. So, but I would love to have you on again, and maybe we can hopefully at that time have you in Massachusetts, your program in Massachusetts, and I would love to see that happen. So we'll definitely have to keep in touch. But Derek, I can't thank you enough because I think this is so super important. We are all on the same page. We want our kids safe. We want safer communities, and education really truly is the key to safety. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was a great episode.
That was great.
I've learned a lot, and I hope that everybody has a chance to watch this show because we all want safer communities, and this was so super important.
Yep, we have a lot of effective solutions nationally that people don't know about. So we're hoping that by doing the show and volunteering our time to get this information out, it will help keep our communities safe.
Yep, and we all want the same thing.
That's right.
So
that's right, sister.
Yep. So if you have any questions or you would like to give us a topic for our show, please email us at sistersinarms2022@gmail.com. Until next time,
Stay safe.
keep vigilant.